So the idea is that in the standard cases of inferential justifiers, they come in a few standard types. So there's deductive inferences, there's inductive inferences, there's abductive inferences, maybe there are analogical inferences, maybe there are, I think the only other type would be pragmatic, but those aren't epistemic. So let's just talk about epistemic justifiers. So they come in those basic types in the standard case. Now, see, it seems to me that what makes them justifiers is that they increase the probability of the proposition being true. Now, in the case of a deductive argument, if the premises are true, the probability is 1. But in the other cases, you're going to get some kind of lower probability than 1. But when we offer an inductive argument for the truth of a proposition, or an abductive argument, we're saying that given this argument, it's more probable that this is true than not. These considerations, evidential considerations, make it more likely that the proposition is true. That's the very idea behind evidence. What evidence is something that raises the probability of something being true. Now, with non-inferential justifications, it doesn't seem like there is any way in which it raises the probability of something being true. Something seems to be true. Does that make it more likely that it's true? Well, not without some supporting argument, like given the hypothesis, we would expect, if the hypothesis were true, we would expect it to seem to be true. But that's an evidential argument. That's saying that some of the evidence in favor of the hypothesis is that it seems to be true. It's actually predicted. Seeming is actually predicted by the hypothesis. So that wouldn't be a non-inferential justification. That would be an inferential justification. If it's not going to be an inference, then all they're saying is this seems to be true, and that's supposed to justify the proposition, but it doesn't raise the probability of the proposition so far as I can see, or I don't understand what the argument would be that it does. So that's why I don't see why we would call it justification at all. That's I think the basic reason why I don't think it makes any sense. I just don't know what they're talking about. It's hard for me to understand what they're talking about. I don't think that those are reasons. I don't think that because something seems to be true, that's a reason to think that it's true. It doesn't mean that it's irrational to believe it, but I don't think that there's a dichotomy between the rational and the irrational, right? I think they're non-rational, which is to say irrational beliefs. So having an irrational belief doesn't contradict reason. There's nothing irrational about it, but it doesn't have a justifier. So if you say justification just means being reasonable, which means there are reasons that support the belief, I don't see what the reason is that supports a belief that merely seems to be true.